Welcome back to the Science of Peace. Peace, peace, peace. My name is Ms. M to the Z to the Z, and today let's jump right on in because we are continuing with our studies of the compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson. Okay. And I'm going to be sharing my screen with you all. We got some stuff to discuss, man. I'm reading this book, and I think that it is phenomenal, which is why I want to share. And I'm hoping that you will come along with me on this journey. So let me share my screen with you all. Cool. So yes, let me move me on over here. Okay. So Billy Carson, if you guys aren't familiar with Billy Carson, please go do your research. And as I've said before, anything that I talk about, go do your own research, man. See what you go find, because that's what I'm doing here with this book. I'm reading the book and I'm like completely amazed by the information, but it's all resonating with me. And so with that, I take the information from the book and I go do my own research and see what I bring and see what I find and see what comes to me. And then I'm just sharing it all with you all, right? And hopefully you all do the same. So hopefully it sparks some type of curiosity, or, you know what I'm saying, it just gives you some greater knowledge to add on to what you already know. So let's keep it. All right, so this part of the book, we are on page 9 of the book, The Emerald Tablets. This is a beginner's guide. Page 9, we're talking about how evolution is serious business. And apparently it is. There's some stuff in here that I was reading and I'm like, man, I ain't never heard this before. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure that there's other people in the world that once you hear some of this information, it's going to start clicking some things in your mind for you, right? So page 9, evolution is serious business. It says, scientists in all fields of study approach the possibility of alien life with serious consideration and have spent years researching it. For 13 years, Maxim A. Mukukov of the Fesenkov Astrophysical Institute and Vladimir I. Sherbak from the Al-Farabi Kazakh National University worked for the Human Genome Project. Right, so for those who don't know, the Human Genome Project is a project designed to map the human DNA. All right, so this is the part that I was like, man, this is crazy. What the scientists found led them to believe that an extraterrestrial civilization, and I want y'all, you know what? I want y'all to see my face before we even go there. Just so y'all can understand what this is saying. The scientists who worked on the Human Genome Project, well, these two particular scientists, Maxim A. Mukukov and Vladimir I. Sherbak. These scientists, what they found led them to believe that an extraterrestrial civilization, aliens basically, designed humans and had a goal to preserve a message in the human DNA. What it says here. And I'm a geek, so I like to highlight stuff and, you know what I'm saying, write all in my books and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So when I read that, I was like, how come we never hear about this? Why don't we ever hear that real actual scientists who were on the Human Genome Project, right? And that was a big deal when they were mapping out the human DNA and trying to figure out what was this and what was that, and the sequences and the patterns and all of that. That two of the scientists that were part of this Human Genome Project concluded, based on the evidence that they found, that our human DNA Y'all listening? That the human DNA may have been designed by extraterrestrial beings, aliens, and they may have had a goal to preserve a message in the human DNA. Right? Because what they continue to find is that our DNA is so advanced with its design. You know what I'm saying? That it's encoded with codes and or messages. Now you know that there has to be something greater, right? And this is not this, and this is what I want people to understand too, because at one point in time when I was getting into this information, and I don't think I was ready at that time, this was years ago, which one thing I did not understand was that I thought that because of the information that was coming out about extraterrestrial and aliens, that meant that God was not involved. And that's not the case, at least for what Billy Carson is talking about. And or at least for what the Emerald Tablets is talking about. The Emerald Tablets and all of these ancient, archaic scrolls and tablets, they do not discredit God. They do not say that God does not exist. In fact, they refer to a higher advanced being that of God. And these aliens, extraterrestrials, the Anunnaki who were here, also give reference to a higher power. So this does not, take away anything from God, right? Because we know that God is the creator of all. So this is not to say that God did not create the aliens who then did not create the humans, or not even really create the humans, because what they did was they took the life that was already here on planet Earth, the so-called hairy barbarians, right? And they advanced the DNA of those hairy barbarians, which then took us into being Homo sapiens. Does that make sense? Because the hairy barbarians were not Homo sapiens. They were the Neanderthals, right? And so, and I'll get into that a little bit later. I don't want to go too ahead of myself because I get excited about this stuff. But I just wanted to bring that up because some people might say, oh, you say aliens created humans. I'm not saying that, and neither is the book saying that, okay? But what scientists found is that the DNA of the Homo sapien, modern Homo sapien, had been tampered with, okay? And there's plenty of evidence to support it. That's the thing. I'm like, what? Okay, so back to what I was saying. So they said, what the scientists found led them to believe that an extraterrestrial civilization designed humans and had a goal to preserve a message in human DNA and to seed life on various planets. So not just Earth, but various planets. Okay? The researchers concluded that humans are the design of a higher power with a set of arithmetic patterns and ideographic symbolic language encoded in our DNA. So our DNA has mathematical patterns and symbolic language is coded within the DNA. So we know that there was something more advanced that was designing the codes, okay? And I want you to also remember that the definition of alien, because some people, as soon as they hear alien, they just think of like what TV shows, like Little Green Men. And not to say that there are aliens that are not green and little, right? But from research, we see that the Anunnaki is referring to those that came from the heavens, meaning the cosmos, the skies. and it's a generalized term, right? So an alien simply means, by definition, anyone who does not come from planet Earth. So technically, we're all aliens because none of us come from planet Earth. You understand? But in this sense, I don't want to confuse people. I just want you to understand that aliens are anyone that are not from planet Earth. Therefore, for instance, if you went to another planet like Mars, you would be considered an Earthling, right? A general term. And you would be considered alien to Mars. You understand? Because you're not from Mars. You came from somewhere else to Mars. It's the same thing when other beings come, other entities come from other areas, planets, galaxies, whatever, and they come here to planet Earth. They are considered alien because they're not from planet Earth. Okay. So God is not from planet Earth. God would be considered alien. I just want y'all to see that. Angels would be considered alien because they're not from planet Earth, right? And so when you think about what going back into ancient times, into these ancient scrolls, when they are talking about other beings, right? Angels, God, all of that is alien. Does that make sense? Think about it. All right, so I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen. All right, back. So evolution is serious business. Now, we are all very familiar, I believe, with this whole idea of Darwinism, right? Darwin's theory of human evolution, of how we evolved from monkeys, okay? But when one starts to do more research, you will see that even when Darwin was doing this research, he found holes in his own theory, and he concluded that within time that his theory would be basically negated because he saw the holes in his own theory. Okay, and a lot of people don't talk about that. Now, moving along to the Human Genome Project, right? This is what I was talking about. This was a big deal. Okay, so I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna take you just so you can do your own research. This was one of the sites that I looked up, the National Human Genome Research Institute. And you could just see, like the Human Genome Project was actually quite phenomenal. And the information that they discovered, gave way to a lot of new research and advances in science. So I'm just showing you this page just so that you can go back if you want to and do your own research. But there's plenty of other sites that also give great information, right? So just real quick, the Human Genome Project's signature accomplishment is generating the first sequence of the human genome, provided fundamental information about the human blueprint, which has since accelerated the study of human biology and improved the practice of medicine. All right, now going back. Now, if you guys I thought this was pretty dope. Like these alien beings, working and creating code for the human DNA sequence. At least that was my idea for the art. Okay, and I made this art using AI, which is pretty cool. So if you like it, I didn't create it. I just had the thought, and I put it in the AI system, and this is what it came up with. So I thought it was pretty cool. I just want y'all to see that. But moving along. All right, so the scientists believe that an extraterrestrial civilization designed humans and had a goal to preserve. So click here. So I want y'all to show one of the articles that I looked up. So this one, this is from exonews.org, scientists have found extraterrestrial genes in human DNA. I mean, there were tons of articles about this. This was just one of them. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I do want you to see a couple of things from Professor Sam Chang at the Human Genome Project. And he talks about non-coding sequences were discovered years ago and were originally labeled as junk DNA. Y'all remember that? I don't know if y'all remember that, but I remember that back in the day. They used to say that we had junk DNA because they just couldn't figure out what was what were those parts of the DNA used for, right? How dare you call it junk though? He said because their function remained a mystery. What we see in our DNA is a program consisting of two versions, a big code and a basic code, says Professor Chang. He says that it is now a verified fact that the primary DNA big code is a program that was written by an advanced extraterrestrial intelligence, while the basic code was tailored to organisms living on the earth and added to the big code. Genes by themselves are not enough to explain evolution. There must be something more in the game, says Professor Chang, right? He says it's a verified fact that the primary DNA big code is a program that was written by advanced extraterrestrials, by aliens, y'all. Go do your own research, man. He says that our hypothesis is that a higher extraterrestrial life form was engaged in creating new life and planting it on various planets. Earth is just one of them. Perhaps it was a scientific experiment or a way of preparing new planets for colonization, or the ongoing business of seedling life in the universe, says Professor Chang. The extraterrestrial programmers wrote the big code, made more improvements, tried again and again. The ET DNA programmers were pressed to meet an Earth project deadline and may have cut down drastically on big code and delivered a basic program intended for Earth. This resulted in programming gaps in the DNA sequences. Such gaps would explain the illogical growth of cancer cell masses that have their own veins, arteries, and immune system that vigorously resist all our anti-cancer drugs. But that goes into a whole nother story, right? But please go do your own research, check it out, see what I'm talking about. All right, and then I want to show you this other article talking about the same thing. Okay, so this is a lot of good sources too that you can find in international news, because y'all know they be censoring the news that we get here in America. So a lot of times you can find the real nitty-gritty in international news. So this is actually an article from Express Co. in the United Kingdom that, as you see, talks about human DNA was designed by aliens, say scientists. I ain't never heard this in the news. I've never read about this in an article. I really haven't heard too much about this, so I'm just excited by this. So thank you, Billy, for your book, man, for real. Human DNA was designed by aliens. Scientists who spent 13 years working on the human genome have sensationally claimed. Scientists who spent 13 years on the Human Genome Project concluded this, y'all, that human DNA was designed by aliens. It's interesting. All right, so I'm not gonna read this whole article once again, but I want you also to see the other references, because Billy mentions these scientists as well. So a pair of scientists from Kazakhstan, I don't know how to pronounce that, but I hope that I did all right, believe that our species was designed by a higher power, alien civilization that either wanted to preserve a message in our DNA or simply plant life on other planets. There's another part here that I wanted to talk about. Their conclusion was that humans were designed by a higher power with a set of arithmetic patterns and ideographic symbolic language encoded in our DNA. They believe that 97% of non-coding sequences in human DNA is genetic code from alien life forms. 97%, man. That's wild. And you see these pictures here, man. Oh, man. According to their research, our hypothesis is that a more advanced extraterrestrial civilization was engaged in creating new life and planting it on various planets. Earth is just one of them. Right? And they talk about the same thing with the two versions of the code, the giant structured code and the simple basic code, just like the last article was talking about. So I encourage you, go do your own research, man, and go look for the things that aren't like in the mainstream, because that's where you're gonna find the real good information. All right, so this is wild. This is wild. Let me come back. All right, so I mean that was just a little bit, right? So you can also find that same information with that whole 97% of non-coding sequences in the human DNA is genetic code from alien life forms. They were talking about this in May of 2013 in a journal, Icarus, volume 224, in an article named The Wow Signal of the Terrestrial Genetic Code. So moving along, we're still on page 9. Their research also states that a more advanced extraterrestrial civilization was engaged in creating new life and planting it on various planets. Earth is just one of them. Same thing they just mentioned in that article, right? According to Dr. Makukov and Dr. Sherbak, the sudden boom, and this is the part that makes you think about the whole theory of evolution. The sudden boom in evolution experienced on Earth billions of years ago is a sign of something happening on a higher level that we are not aware of, and that mathematical code in DNA cannot explain evolution. So, as we mentioned, our DNA has a mathematical code, okay? So check this out. Skip that page, man. This is some more AI art that I designed, okay? With using AI, just using my ideas. Pretty cool. I love this stuff. So they said that we have a mathematical code in our DNA. And because of these advanced patterns that are in our DNA, it does not explain evolution. So this is one of the holes in the theory of Darwin, right? Because of the advanced geometrical patterns that are in our DNA. And geometrical is, of course, mathematical. That doesn't happen naturally through evolution. All right. So if we were to evolve from apes to Homo sapiens, how do you explain then the geometrical and mathematical patterns that are in the DNA? That doesn't happen when things start to evolve in nature naturally. Okay. So I'll show you this. This is coming from Gaia.com, also a dope website. Did extraterrestrials genetically engineer humans? We're talking about this on here. Let's go down. I'm gonna go down to the missing link. Missing link is a popular term we've all heard at one point or another. It's an informal term used to describe a transitional species or a species that connects two together, such as apes and humans. So Greg Braden, and I love Greg Braden too. If you're not familiar with him, go check his work out. But Greg Braden has explored missing links and human genetic modification in depth. He publicizes the fact that human DNA shows unmistakable signs of planning that evolution alone cannot explain. In addition, he points to the fact that, according to the fossil record, modern, highly intelligent humans seem to appear almost overnight, about 200,000 years ago. So that's the part that a lot of Darwin's peers, rejected, because it just didn't make sense. How is it that, so as Homo sapiens, the modern day Homo sapiens, they say it's 200,000 years old, right? But right before the 200,000 year mark, we were simply hairy barbarians, Neanderthals. So how do you explain the jump? Where did the evolution occur? There is nothing that shows that we evolved from apes to humans, Homo sapiens. They can't prove it. That's why they say the missing link. It just doesn't make sense. How do you just be an ape one day and then the next day you're a Homo sapien human, with advanced intelligence in comparison to the apes? They can't figure it out. That's because that shit ain't happen. It ain't happen like that. And he says, how did we progress so quickly from primitive apes to highly advanced beings? Is it possible that another species deliberately manipulated our genetic code? Now, the reason why this is important to note as well. Sure. The reason why this is important to note as well is because it's not that, modern day woo-woo science is saying that this happened and occurred. No. This was mentioned in the Emerald Tablets. The Emerald Tablets, for those who don't know, this is not a modern text. Okay? The Emerald Tablets is 36,000 years old. Okay? Written by Thoth, the Atlantean priest king, or the Egyptian priest king. The Emerald Tablets, aka Hermes. They're the same person, but the Hermes version is more modern than the Cometian or the Egyptian version. The Hermes version is kind of like a shortened version of the full Emerald Tablet. So, and that's the thing. This is not the only ancient book that talks about aliens, y'all. It's not the only ancient book that talks about aliens. It talks about how extraterrestrial life came from other planets and helped us helped us become who we are. It's in most of all the ancient texts. It's even in the modern day Bible. And I won't get into, for those who don't know, how the Bible was compiled, because the Bible was compiled of all of these ancient texts. Not all of them, because they removed like 66 books did not make it into the Bible. And it was voted on by the Council of Nicaea. So that's a whole nother story. But this stuff is not it's not as woo-woo as some people think. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are ancient stories, ancient information that is now coming to surface because we are in the age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius is the age of knowing. So we are leaving the age of Pisces. The age of Pisces is the age of belief. And if you go look up the words and the definition of belief, to believe something, that's based on opinion. To know something is based on fact. You understand? So a lot of the things that we thought we knew, that we believed, a lot of these beliefs are crumbling because this new information, well, not really new, the ancient information is coming back. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, I'm gonna go. I want to show y'all one more thing. I'm sorry, that is the oven because dinner is ready. But I want y'all to see this. So this is what I was talking about with the mathematical code in DNA. And that mathematical code does not explain evolution at all. So this is what I was talking about with the mathematical code in DNA cannot explain evolution. Because some of y'all might be thinking, well, what kind of mathematical code do we have in our DNA? So, excuse me. One of the things that's so beautiful about us being human and our DNA, right? When you cut DNA, a cross-cut section, do you know that what you will see is the flower of life? And the flower of life, for those who don't know, holds the golden ratio. So you might say, well, what is the golden ratio, right? So the golden ratio, it for one, you see the symbol that's right here, that the Greek letter phi, okay, phi. This is the Greek symbol of phi, which is also representation of the golden ratio. So the golden ratio symbol is the Greek letter phi, is a special number approximately equal to 1.618. It appears many times in geometry, art, architecture, and other areas, like our DNA. So you constantly find the golden ratio or the flower of life, 1.618 throughout the earth, and I would imagine throughout the universe, but we're just going to stick with Earth because we're Earthlings here. So when you cut the DNA in half, or cut a cross section of that DNA, you will see the flower of life. You will see the geometric mathematical pattern of 1.618. That's beautiful. And you find this throughout nature. The Masons, architects use this to build, right? You find it in the pyramids designs. You find it in art. You find it in nature. You find it everywhere. And so that also lets you know that that's not by coincidence, okay? That is not by coincidence. That is by design, because we were designed that way. And I also wanted to show you this, just so to give some more cultural reference, right? If you go to crystallinks.com, Ancient Aliens, you will see some of the ancient art that has been created and drawn from thousands of years ago. You know what I'm saying? You'll find these symbols, and you'll find that there were many different cultures from all over the planet that talked about this group of extraterrestrials coming to Earth and basically advancing the culture, helping us. Okay? And not to say that there weren't any bad aliens, because I just feel like, that's just part of life. It's the yin and the yang. There's going to be good aliens and there's going to be so-called bad aliens, and that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? So not all were here to help, but they were here, and it's mentioned in all of the ancient texts. It's mentioned in many of the apocrypha, which are the lost parts of the Bible, or the stories of the Gospels of the Bible that were voted to not be included. And many of those, I would imagine, were not included because it talked about aliens, extraterrestrials. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. So I wanted to show you this. Anytime you see reference to ancient astronaut theory, that's what they're talking about, aliens, right? Here's some physical evidence, some art, some sculptures the Sumerian gods, Sumerian artifacts, Anunnaki theory of creation, ancient astronauts, right? Ancient astronauts, ancient aliens. These are all art. Chariots of the Gods is another good book to go read. Look at these, Easter Island, the Egyptian pyramids, okay? Stonehenge. There are submerged cities that are thousands of years old that are underwater. Humans could not have designed and constructed them. We didn't have those designs yet. These are submerged cities. Go do the research on those submerged cities. The medieval map known as the Piri Reis map. And it allegedly shows the Earth as it is seen from space. That's why the map looks like this, right? Who could see the Earth from space other than someone who's not from Earth, like an alien? All right. Just go through. You can look for yourself. Just, art history. Look right here. These are looks like a helicopter. This looks like a spaceship. These are Egyptian artifacts. Even in China, they have stories about an alien race called the Dropa. You have the Mayans who talk about, all of this is from ancient aliens. Look at this drawing or carving. Come on, man. It's unbelievable. Stories of and artifacts of giants, right? They talk about the giants in the Bible. Yeah, they said that we were like grasshoppers to them. These are aliens they're talking about. But you all can go do your own research and check it out. I just wanted to spark some conversation, some insight, some ideas, because I'm very excited about this book. But that concludes today's lesson, compendium of the Emerald Tablets. If you don't have the book, go get the book and come along and read it with me. So thank y'all for joining me. Thank y'all for coming to the Science of Peace. My name is Ms. M to the Z to the Z. Subscribe, like, comment, leave your thoughts. Tell me what you're thinking, what you're reading. And if you, tell me some research that you done discovered, or some things, maybe you don't agree with this, but let me know down in the comments. Peace, and I'm out.